Yo, 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 it's Tatum, back with another review. This time we are doing Eddington by Ari Aster with Pedro Pascal, Joaquin Phoenix, Deirdre O'Connell, Michael Ward, Luke Grimes, Emma Stone, Austin Butler, the list goes on. I was looking forward to this movie. I'm a fan of Ari Aster's. I really loved Hereditary when he came onto the scene with that banger of a movie, and he followed it up with Midsommar, which I thought was not as good as Hereditary, but was just as exciting in terms of cinematography and what he managed to accomplish with that film. And with those two films, I think he established himself as easily one of the most exciting voices in film today. And regardless of how you felt about those movies, or just horror in general, there's no denying the skill that was on display here. And I think the same can be said for Beau is Afraid, which I liked too. It wasn't on the same level of Hereditary or even Midsommar, but I think it had some of its own things going on with it that I can appreciate, and it was clearly very much a personal film for Ari, and I can respect that, and I can enjoy the film on its own merits, specifically Joaquin's performance, which is excellent in Eddington as well, and I'll get to that, but he's just a great actor, and he really manages to elevate whatever material he's given. But anyway, let's get to Eddington instead of, talking about Ari Aster's earlier work, as much as I do enjoy it, and it's the whole reason I went and saw this movie. Now, from the very beginning, the concept of Eddington was interesting, while also a little eye-rolling to me, and I think a lot of people kind of felt that way as well, when they initially heard about this movie, or if you managed to hear about the plot of the movie before you saw it. Or really you just had to watch any of the trailers. But anyway, basically the premise of the film, to put it short and simple, is that the town of Eddington is kind of split. It's basically a small-scale version of America. There's the righties and the lefties, and it's kind of split the town apart, particularly because one of the representatives, is the sheriff of the town, and then same for the other side. We have Pedro's character running for mayor, and he's basically, the leftist of the town, it kind of feels like, and that's what Joaquin becomes for the conservative, part of town, and it's very much right versus left, the thing though is you think it's going to get deeper than that, but it never really does, and I really hoped that there was going to be more going on than there really was, but you kind of realize as you're watching it what the movie's going to be, and I feel like I already knew. I felt like I get it. I get what you're doing. But what was the point of making this? Wasn't there something else at play here? Wasn't there a bigger statement to be made here? And I guess not. But basically what they're trying to show you with this movie is that anyone that was involved with all the chaos in 2020, post George Floyd and COVID, the first COVID cases, and just everything else that, the Trump elections, the protests, and January 6th, that's all touched in this movie. And the movie is really just trying to hammer into you that both sides of the conflict consist of stupid people. And I feel like if you have any type of common sense, you're already aware of this. We all went through this. We all experienced it ourselves. for years. And when you go to see a movie, you hope to escape from your reality, right? You hope to get away from some of the craziness of real life, right? And I'm not saying that movies can't involve real life and be based in reality. You know, especially satire, especially satirical films. That's the whole point. But they don't say much more than what I feel a lot of people already know with this film. They go out of their way to show you the most extreme, radical side of both viewpoints. And you're supposed to watch it and be thinking, wow, this is crazy. Like, wow, but it's like, it really isn't much crazier than what we saw happen in our real lives during the 2019, 2020, you know, period of time where shit was just nonstop insanity. And to an extent, that never stopped. We still have that kind of crap going on today. But this focuses on the kind of the lockdown time in America, and you know, that was a pretty chaotic, you know, time, but the way they go about trying to represent it and wrap it all up with a little bow on it, it just doesn't work. What I think Ari Aster was initially going for when he wrote this movie was the twists, the few twists or plot turns that the movie takes, which are interesting, and they kind of get you back into it. But everything in between feels very slow and really just annoying. There's not really any likable, redeeming character in the entire film, because of whether it's his acting and an ability to make you empathize with him, or just the things that happen to him in the film. I found myself caring a little more about what happens with Joaquin's character, but even that is kind of, you know, thrown out the window when he does a certain thing in the third act of the film and betrays one of his deputies. And after that, I was just kind of, well, I don't really care what happens to him either, you know. But yeah, it's just, it's the kind of movie where it's very clearly a slow burn that's supposed to be building up to something insane, which is very Ari Aster, but I just don't feel like the way he did it in this film, I don't think the execution was very satisfactory. I don't think he pulled it off very well. Another thing I just want to throw out there is usually Emma Stone is one of the best characters in any film she's in, and I could not stand her in this film. I felt like the whole purpose of her was just to play one of those, you know, just ditzy, out there libs that, you know, is super artsy and spiritual, but then, you know, at the same time, clearly has no idea what she's talking about. She's one of those people that, you know, is just overwhelmed with empathy, but has no empathy for her own husband, you know? She's insufferable in this film. I just couldn't stand her, and it felt like her whole purpose was just to be horrible to Joaquin's character. And yeah, I couldn't get behind that. And yeah, there's a scene at the very end where they show the shot of her, and it kind of just proves, you know, the contradictory nature of their entire relationship. Yeah, it was just a big eye-rolling moment for me. But yeah, I do think that the movie has its moments, particularly a shootout at the end, which is, you know, exciting, and I think that, again, it was one of the main things, one of the first things that Ari Aster started building this film around, was some of those climactic moments, some of the real exciting things that happen in the film. you know, that separate all of just the insufferable people arguing the entire time about their viewpoints. And the thing is no one's ever really saying anything of value or anything that you can really get behind, other than one scene where this kid goes on this whole rant about establishing whiteness, and then his dad just kind of shuts him up. But that was funny. But other than that, it's just people spouting the same horrible rhetoric that you've been seeing on the internet for years. And yeah, you just want them to stop talking, you know? And yeah, pretty much how that translates to watching a movie about that kind of stuff is you just want the film to end. And considering the film is already almost 3 hours and feels like 4, yeah, you know, I was just kind of waiting for the film to end once it was wrapping up. And it's a shame. I like Ari Aster. I love Joaquin. I love most of the actors in this film. But just none of them were really utilized very well. Other than Joaquin, I don't feel like any of the other actors, Austin, Pedro, they were all very underutilized. Emma Stone, obviously. Deirdre O'Connell did a decent job with her role. She was basically the way for Ari Aster to get another one of his trademarks into his films, or into this film that is in his other films, which is people constantly interrupting each other while they're trying to talk. I feel like anytime Joaquin was trying to have a conversation with Emma Stone during the first half of this movie, she's just yelling over him. And it was annoying, but she played her role well for her character. And I do think that her character was a little more three-dimensional than some of the others. Joaquin's stepmom, or what's it called, mother-in-law. My bad. But yeah, I think I'm getting a little off track here. There's not too much of this movie to talk about, but I did recently see it and wanted to get my thoughts on it out there, as I was looking forward to it. And I am interested in what Ari Aster is going to do next. I just think he had a little bit of a slip up with this one. Like I said earlier, I'm a huge fan of Beau is Afraid. I own it on DVD. I think it's a very underrated film, and I do think he's got potential to make a great film after this. I just think that Eddington wasn't exactly it. I think he kind of missed the mark. Even if there were still exciting moments regarding cinematography that I should have mentioned, because there is things worth looking at here. But overall, I think my point is to not watch it. I really don't know what you would get out of it that you haven't just experiencing America for the last 5 years, you know. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you guys in the next review. Take it easy.